Welcome to another episode of the Ducks on Base podcast. We come to you just less than 24 hours before the MLB Draft. So we wanted to talk about some of our Ducks and where they kind of stand headed into our thoughts on where they kind of stand headed into the draft. And obviously, we are rooting for all our commits and all our current Ducks the best in the draft. But Fox, you want to start us off this episode?
Yeah, so this episode we're gonna split up the episodes and we're gonna talk about one prospect in each, and we'll first do our we're only gonna do our current Ducks. We're not gonna do any of our high school eligible to come in, as we don't really have much footage on them. We'd only just basically be projecting based on what Baseball America and all the other scouting organizations would say. So this first episode is going to be on Ryan Cooney. Ryan Cooney was our second baseman for this season. He's a right-handed batter. He's 21. He's born in 2004. He's 6 foot. Bats and throws right-handed. He is basically probably between Laya, Drew Smith, and Ryan Cooney were basically our three best players this season. Statistically, on the hitting side, MLB Prospectus gives him a 45 based on based on last season's results. It's probably updated, probably a little bit closer to a 50, maybe like a 47, 48. In the overall grade, he has a 50 power, 50 hit, a 40 power, a 55 run, and a 50 arm, a field of a 50, which averages out to a 45 for his grade. He had a great season this year. He was the leadoff hitter for most of the season. Managed to do so much for the Ducks this season, and overall, I think it'll be he definitely is. He's ranked 137th. He could go earlier. He could go later. It really is just depending on how he feels. It's when we talk about our recap after the draft, he's definitely the one player that I think is pretty much guaranteed to leave.
Yeah. I will second that notion. I think his combination of, he had decent power. It's not like hitting a gajillion home runs, but he showed that bat to ball skills was pretty solid. His stability at second base and his glove there was great as well. Definitely think he didn't. Let's see, he had 6, 6, and 8. He had 20 home runs over 3 years at Oregon. So not crazy numbers, but his ability to get on base and combining with his glove, I think will give any organization a solid infield prospect, whether they decide to keep him at second like he was at Oregon. He also played short in high school. Many shortstops, whether it's from high school to college to the draft, they end up moving. Some end up moving to different positions just because they're more, athletic in different positions. But I think Cooney will definitely be a solid prospect for any team, whether or not they keep him at second or they put him at short.
Yeah, and if you look at the stats, right, so it's like his average went down, his slug went up, and then his on base percentage went down. But you have to realize that he had 240 at bats this season, and then had 82 the previous season. So he basically replicated his stats in 60 more plate appearances.
Yeah,
which definitely shows that he's basically a very consistent player when he's given the at bats, and that's basically everything you want out of an infield prospect. Basically, unless you're playing first or third, where you do need some form of power, especially at first, and like be able to do run producing, but he's definitely going to be our prospect at second or at shortstop that basically has like good average. And he's basically like the prototypical like Blue Jays player of last year's like World Series team, basically like getting on base, has some home run threat, and can play pretty good defense. So I wouldn't say he's going to go to the Blue Jays or any team so far, but he definitely has a chance of going in the first probably 5 rounds, depending on what his asking price, which is basically every player is dependent on the asking price.
Yeah, I think like Fox said, you know, obviously some years there are guys that ask for too much and they slide in draft. We obviously aren't privy to that information. We're just Oregon fans that are passionate about Oregon baseball. But I definitely think Cooney will definitely slot in the first 5 rounds somewhere. But yeah, like, you know, not does it strike out a ton? You know, he on base percentage over the last 2 years went from 445 to 420 in what almost 60 more at bats. But his walk to strikeout numbers are pretty good. You know, for someone whose knack is to put the ball in play and drive the ball in. Yeah. Fox, who do you want to talk about next?
We'll talk about in the next episode that we're gonna talk about Max Molony. Yep. So this is just a quick video, and we'll see you guys in the next episode, which will come out really shortly.
Yeah.